Trixie's Forest Retreat by Crow's Crow. Chapter 47. Retelling. Fluttershy had kept her word, not that Trixie ever thought otherwise, and brought out a tray with 6 brown clay cups and a rainbow-colored teapot. Everyone was given a cup of tea and some very awkward socializing followed. Nurse Red Heart and Rainbow Dash had avoided looking at each other, and neither seemed particularly keen on saying anything while the other was there, but they still made token attempts at conversation to appease Fluttershy. Unlike Applejack and Nurse Manners, who seemed to have found a common interest in the topic of Big Mac's treatment. Though Trixie got the sense that Nurse Manners was not grasping the true purpose behind Applejack's questions, and the clueless suitor even failed to notice the very forced smile plastered under the increasingly worried eyes. Trixie had taken refuge near Fluttershy, the only one she thought would make for less awkward conversation. Of course at that moment Trixie had utterly forgotten how nearly useless Fluttershy was for conversing, even less so in the company of others. Trixie had just ended up making small compliments on the tea's flavor and asked for a recipe, but half of it Trixie had already forgotten, and the other half she never even heard. Fortunately, Trixie possessed the perfect excuse to escape awkward social situations, a concussion. While the uninteresting prattle went on, she found no reason to fight to stay awake anymore, and all the more reason to doze off as she drowsily slumped against Fluttershy. Trixie rested her head on Fluttershy's shoulder while the sounds muffled around her. By the time Trixie woke again, Nurse Red Heart had downed her tea in what Trixie could only assume had to be a second-degree burn-inducing manner, or at least she judged so by how hot her own tea still was. Nurse Red Heart declared that they really had to get back to their shifts, which prompted a small conversation regarding Nurse Red Heart's restored faith in Fluttershy now that she had proven she could stand up to Rainbow Dash in the case of another stupid idea. Trixie did not believe the excuse for a second, and she didn't think any pony else did either. The odds of a blue moon event taking place twice were astronomical. In either case, Trixie was happy to wave goodbye to the pair. It was not that she necessarily hated them, but as far as she was concerned they had done nothing but hinder her attempts to get back to the 2 ponies that actually mattered to her. The cool night air roused Trixie enough to raise her gaze up at the stars, and gave a smile at their familiar twinkling. It had not really occurred to Trixie until just then, but she had truly missed the night sky. The past week had her sleeping so much she might have even given Princess Celestia a taste of what Lena had gone through. Maybe that is why she is playing with Trixie. It took a moment for Trixie to realize, but Rainbow Dash stared at her and Fluttershy for a while now. Though Trixie was not quite sure what to make of her expression, but Trixie was convinced that at least meant Rainbow Dash did not appear to be angry with her. "Oh, good morning there, Trixie. You awake now?" Applejack had caught on, though whether she was the first, or if Fluttershy was too polite to comment, Trixie could not say. Despite being found out, Trixie made no attempt to get away from the warm, soft form of Fluttershy. Trixie yawned and grumbled softly. You would think Trixie would wake up refreshed. Did Trixie miss anything? No, not really. But there is something awesome I've been dying to tell you about all day. Rainbow Dash had found her enthusiasm, and cranked it up to maximum. It amazed Trixie what a slight change in group composition could do. Oh? What is it? Do not keep Trixie in suspense. Now hang on y'all, maybe we should let Fluttershy tell this here story? I mean it kinda is her story, ain't it? Applejack motioned encouragingly towards Fluttershy. Go ahead, Sugar Cube. Fluttershy ate quietly and ate behind Trixie. Oh that's okay, Applejack. I don't think that's such a good idea. Rainbow Dash, can you please? Trixie blinked surprised. She supposed it might have only been because she was right next to Fluttershy, but it still felt special to Trixie that she was apparently safe enough to hide behind. A warm feeling spread inside Trixie while she reached behind her to wrap a hoof around Fluttershy and gently pull her back beside her. Don't worry. If you do not wish to tell a tale, then Trixie will allow that. Though the idea of you telling the story does appeal to Trixie, Fluttershy is right. She will just slow down the story if she tells it, It's just not her thing. Rainbow Dash smiled at Fluttershy, then thumped her own chest. No worries, Fluttershy, I got this. I'll be sure to make it as cool as actually being there. Fluttershy nodded in agreement with Rainbow Dash and returned the smile. Strangely, Trixie could swear she had felt Fluttershy tense up briefly during Rainbow Dash's defense of her. Trixie ran the comment through her mind again, then settled on the part she thought most likely coincided with it. Rainbow Dash was already partway into the story. So I was just Fluttershy will slow it down? Trixie felt Fluttershy react beside her. There it is again. Huh? Well yeah. You know she's not very good at this stuff. It's kind of like in the story actually, so just let me finish. You're not supposed to interrupt till you can't contain your excitement, you know, or get scared. But this is not one of those stories. Rainbow Dash waved the disruption away dismissively. Now where was I? The start is kinda boring anyway. Trixie looked from Fluttershy to Rainbow Dash. Something seemed just a bit off. She was not sure what had happened today, but she would need to wait to find out. What are you saying? You can't make the story exciting, Rainbow? I mean, we started with this huge cloud of black covering the sky, you know. How's that not good enough? Applejack interrupted. Oh well, yeah, okay, I guess. Look, do you want to tell the story or something, Applejack? Well, I thought you was gonna tell it proper. If you can't do that, I'll just have to correct you. Applejack crossed her forelegs across her chest. Oh come on, you'll throw me off my game. That's sabotage, you know. Okay fine, actually I remember what was exciting about the start now. So it was morning, there was boring old smoke over Ponyville, and I was about to break the equestrian ball bouncing record. Pinkie Pie messed me up, but not before I got at least 5 bounces past the old record. Rainbow Dash flew up in the air and did an impressive little loop in her excitement. Course I did not realize at the time, I was distracted by Twilight telling us all about the dragon. Applejack visibly bit her tongue. The Rainbow Dash was telling what happened. She was clearly not pleased with it. Trixie was glad she already had a freak-out moment earlier in the day. Now that she was holding Hottie, it struck her as the absolute worst time to get the dragon news sprung on her. Huh, so you were really taking that ball thing serious, huh? Trixie was told about that. Of course I was. I thought it was the best way to check on you. Turns out it was a waste of time, I guess. But having documented proof that I'm awesome in the record books is not a bad result either. I might decide to break so many more, like I saw the record for most cupcakes eaten is held by some pony right here in Ponyville. I bet I could challenge her to a Rainbow Dash, the story. You can brag plenty while we are keeping it going, I bet. Oh yeah I guess. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I had the new record. Twilight told you about the dragon causing the smoke in the sky, then what? Applejack took the risk to sip her tea, apparently fairly confident she could trust Rainbow Dash long enough to swallow a sip. It was an awfully short sip, however. So we hear there's this big dragon we got to defeat and we get some prep time, so I go right home for some war paint. I looked awesome. Or I'm pretty sure I did. There was a mirror on the mountain, but I'd have to ask Rarity for it and she would totally never shut up about how she was right all along to bring all her stuff. So I couldn't do that. You ain't gonna mention what the rest was doing? Applejack raised a brow. Besides, it was liquid rainbow on in her face, rainbow, not paint. It was gone before we even left. I said I would make the story awesome, didn't I? That means it must have the focus on the most awesome pony there. Besides, what am I gonna tell her? That Rarity packed a scarf and Pinkie brought streamers or whatever? Come on AJ, try to keep up. Trixie snickered a little. Even if Rainbow Dash was atrocious, it was at least amusing. Mirrors and streamers? Really? What did they think they were going to do? Seduce or throw a party for the dragon? I wonder what Fluttershy brought. I'll bet it's an animal. The thought reminded Trixie that the story was supposed to be about Fluttershy, and that made her burn with curiosity for more detail. Perhaps it would also help her figure out why Fluttershy was reacting a bit strangely. What about you, Fluttershy? What did you do to prepare? I tried to wear protective clothes. Rainbow Dash said it would just slow us down though. So I left it. Yeah, not that it helped much though. Twilight insisted on taking Fluttershy along even though I told her not to. I couldn't believe you actually came. Or well, I guess we kinda dragged you along, literally. Mostly Applejack though, she had to drag Fluttershy up the mountain path cause she was too scared to fly or climb. Or jump. Or keep quiet in an avalanche zone. Frustration seeped from Rainbow Dash's every word thick enough to smear on bread by Trixie's estimation. Trixie did not need to guess anymore at this point. She could feel Fluttershy practically turn into a wooden ball beside her. She listened to the rest of the story though, and with the help of Applejack's concentrated efforts to keep Rainbow Dash at least somewhat on track or filling details, she ended up with a fairly good understanding of the trip. And that's when we got to the dragon. Chapter 48. Rant. And then Twilight said to be ready with the apples because of... Huh? Come to think of it. I don't get it. It was totally not gonna do anything. Course it would have, Rainbow. If I hit him with a few apples it would distract him, wouldn't it? The pale moonlight reflected off the 4 ponies gathered in Fluttershy's meadow. It seemed funny to Trixie that the last time she was out at night the moon had seemed such an enemy to her, lighting her up like a beacon while she made her escape. This time however, she was grateful for its light as she watched 2 of her friends bicker about whether or not a dragon could be hurt by apples. If he even feels it, yeah. But that's not the point. Distracting him was Rarity's and Pinky's job. So what was yours? Look, why are you picking on my job? Yours was to clear out her smoke, and you didn't even need to. Applejack huffed. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes. Are you sure you were not supposed to feed them to him? I'm telling you. Why would Twilight say apples and not rocks? They are certainly animated, but in a strange way it's peaceful. Trixie was not sure how it worked, but she had not stopped smiling since the crazy story began. She gave a glance towards Fluttershy who sat closely beside her, softly giggling with the antics of the pair. The best sound in the world. I suppose that might help too. The tension Trixie had felt from Fluttershy before seemed gone, or perhaps she just could not detect it when she was not touching her. She looked down at her tea mug. The water was barely warm anymore, which was exactly what Trixie had been waiting for. She lifted the mug up shaky hooves, the gentle scent of raspberry wafted up from it. Keep it steady, it won't burn now if Trixie fills but... Without finishing the thought, Trixie felt her control on the mug slip away and quickly set it back down. Great. Huh? You know, maybe I was supposed to do something like that. I know, right? Not that the plan even worked a bit like it was supposed to. It never does. Trixie sighed disappointed in herself, while she stared down at the full bottom half of her mug then closed her eyes. Trixie will just try again in a few minutes. Cold tea is fine too. The top half she had been able to drink by leaving the cup on the ground and leaning down, but she could not get to the rest like that unless the cup grew a couple of sizes to accommodate her muzzle. That still leaves you with no actual job though. Oh come on. The scent of raspberry became much stronger. Upon opening her eyes, Trixie discovered her tea mug being held up to her muzzle by Fluttershy. She wore a gentle, slightly apologetic smile, as if to excuse her unrequested interruption. Yeah, you don't have to Push yourself, Trixie. It's okay. My job was to clear the smoke. I didn't see any smoke, so I was the only one that succeeded. That's what you say about weather patrol too, but it don't mean you did your job just cause it didn't need doing. In winter I don't say I did my apple bucking just cause there are snow apples in the trees. Trixie looked from Fluttershy to the mug and back, then spared a quick glance at Applejack and Rainbow Dash, who appeared to be still engrossed in their argument. This is humiliating. The great and powerful Trixie can drink a cup of tea on her own. Fluttershy shrunk back. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean for. Sorry. Wait. But Trixie will allow it, just for practice. Quickly, she nodded a little at Fluttershy and brought her lips to the rim of the mug. She could not stop the burning feeling in her cheeks while Fluttershy tilted the mug slowly. The tea was practically cold, but Trixie did not care about that at all. Just for practice, huh? Yeah, right. Trixie froze at the sound Rainbow Dash's patented teasing tone. She doubted it was aimed at Applejack anymore, and a quick look confirmed it as she found both of them looking at her and Fluttershy. The burning in her cheeks was even worse now. Silence. You are, yes. Ponies who do not even work do not get to speak. What? Why does every pony keep saying that? I totally work hard. Speaking of hard work, how nice of you to help Fluttershy practice hers, Trixie. She grinned widely. Applejack nudged Rainbow Dash in the ribs. Hush. You ain't getting out of this that easy. You wouldn't know hard work if it poked you in the ribs. Hey, you work pretty hard. So you're wrong, huh? Rainbow Dash stuck out her tongue and blew a raspberry. Trixie smirked and pointed a hoof at Rainbow Dash. That's hardly helping you. Trixie has not seen you do any work all week. Oh, as if you have. Trixie is on the verge of definitely getting material for a brand new show. What is your excuse? She did her best to keep a good poker face. Nice save, Trixie. Piff, like a show is any hard work. You just get on stage and show off for a living. I do that every day, for free. Rainbow Dash puffed up her chest and spread her wings. Nothing to it. Well, I reckon she's got a point there, Trixie. But I've got you both beat. I'll get to strut my stuff at the rodeo, and bring back a prize in my free time, then get back to actual work. So I guess that means you both have to be quiet as all you do is show off. Applejack laughed while Rainbow Dash tackled her silently with a mischievous grin that spoke to how clever she thought herself for finding the loophole. Trixie watched the pair wrestle on the grass, realization setting in slowly. You really think that, don't you? That there is nothing to what Trixie does? From the corner of her eye she could see Fluttershy shaking her head, though she did not speak up. Trixie was not sure if it was because she was being shy or because Fluttershy considered her job as an animal caretaker not actual work. Applejack and Rainbow paused to look towards Trixie. Gee, when you put it like that, Trixie. I am sure there's plenty of pony that likes ear shows and thinks it's worthwhile to spend bits on. I ain't saying your job is no good. Just that it ain't much work. Applejack smiled at her, clearly thinking the clarification made it all better. Yeah, like I said. I do that kind of thing all day. No, you don't, Trixie said coldly. Her tone appeared to catch the trio off guard. Trixie spared a moment to turn towards Fluttershy, and gave her a smile just to reassure her she was not upset with her, then returned to the pair lying on top of each other. Putting on a show is a lot of hard work. Trixie sees now why you thought it was okay to disrupt her performance. Trixie put on a deliberately bad accent, and waved her hoof dismissively. It's fine, every pony, she is only showing off and didn't put any actual work into this anyway. Right? It's no more consequential than stepping in a puddle, no pony worked hard on it. It's not as if she put months of preparation into that show and gambles her livelihood on it. Oh, come on, Trixie. It ain't like that. You were being a boasting show-off. If you'd been humble about it, nothing wild'd happened. And that makes it okay? You both do the same thing. Every time Applejack says their Apple products are the best or Rainbow Dash claims to the best flyer in Equestria. What is the difference? Trixie struck her hoof back down to the ground. Of course Trixie was boasting, it was a show. The whole idea is to work your audience and get them excited, get them invested. Make them crave you to show them what you can do. Trixie is not claiming she has the hardest job in Equestria, and she truly loves what she does, but it is a lot of work. Did you see Trixie's stage? The one your unicorn friend so happily tore the curtain from? Trixie does not merely magic that into existence, it had to be made. Every decoration, instrument, and hinge. Not to mention maintained, deployed, put away and dragged from town to town by hoof. That thing is heavy. She looked at Applejack in particular towards the end. That is how much work goes into just the stage. Trixie spends months practicing every part of her routine, stories, boasts, illusions, tricks, magic, music, moves, presence, articulation, timing. It all has to be perfect when Trixie is on stage. It is all necessary to build up Trixie's audience. If she fails in any part of it, the illusion is broken, and ponies lose their high. It is the difference between an enjoyable show and to tell your friends and take them to the next great and powerful show. A familiar dull painful pulse throbbed in her head, getting steadily worse, but she had come this far, she might as well finish it. It never ends, and Trixie knows you can relate to this rainbow dash. Trixie can never be satisfied with just the things she already knows. She has to keep improving, find new stories to tell, learn more magic, tailor her show to the taste of the area. And you know something else? Even if Trixie nails every single bit of that, it is still scary to go up there on stage and face a whole crowd of strange ponies that are waiting to judge you, but you have to be, or at least appear, completely confident the whole time. It is the worst every time in those last few minutes leading up to when you have to step through that curtain, let alone when you have to deal with hecklers. But Trixie would not trade it for the world. She started to stumble over her words as she noticed the world had gone fuzzy before her eyes and shook her head. It's something. Ag. There was no ignoring it any longer. The dull pain had worked its way up to a burning sear through her own foolishness. Trixie swayed and brought up a hoof to her temple, hissing softly as she closed her eyes. Hey. Trixie, are you okay? Yeah, all right there, sugar cube. Trixie was just about to lay down in the grass to prevent herself from suffering a fall, when she felt something wrapped tightly around her. It was so wonderfully soft and warm. Trixie recognized it immediately, or who rather. It did not take much time for her mind to clear, as she only had one thought left in it. This is wonderful. Trixie squinted, and was greeted by the blurry sight of pink and yellow, confirming her suspicion. She shifted her hooves away from her head and around Fluttershy, holding on tightly while her headache gradually faded. It might not have truly been any faster of a recovery than Trixie could have managed on her own, but it was one she infinitely more enjoyed. This is wonderful. Trixie was not entirely sure how much time had passed. She was fairly sure she had been conscious the entire time, though. It was just that she lost track of the seconds while in the embrace. By the time she started to become aware that she might have to let go at some point, her headache had already disappeared. Reluctantly, Trixie pulled away from Fluttershy and looked into her eyes. Thank you. Fluttershy looked right back at her and smiled. Oh, you're welcome. Are you feeling better now, Trixie? She slowly withdrew and sat back down on her old spot beside her. Yeah, is everything okay, Trixie? Look, you were right, okay. Yup, we get it now, don't you worry, Trixie. Sorry and all. Are you feeling all right? Trixie still felt a little dazed, but she was pretty sure they were all trying hard to appease her and not cause her any further stress. Even if her aunting had convinced any of them, she was not going to find out now. It annoyed her to know they were going so easy on her, but at the same time it also gave her a bit of warmth. Trixie is fine now. You girls are such foals. Thank you. She gave a smile at the trio for a moment. Now tell Trixie about this dragon, no more stalling. Rainbow Dash was quick to jump on it, seemingly as eager for a change of subject as Trixie herself. Right. So after a twilight gave Applejack here the task of feeding the dragon if it was grumpy when it woke up, which is total nonsense cause dragons don't eat apples, just ask Spike WH. Gosh darn it, Rainbow. I wonder if I'll ever hear the end of this story. Chapter 49. Really? Applejack rolled her eyes. Look, why don't you just skip over it then if you ain't gonna say it without derailing? Rainbow Dash shrugged. Fine, so Fluttershy is tasked with actually talking to the dragon. Because you know, she already does so well talking with every pony else that talking with a huge dragon is totally gonna work out. Trixie thought Fluttershy had spoken to a manticore before. It cannot be that different. I know, right? That's what we thought. But nope, turns out she's scared to death of dragons. I mean like more so than usual I guess, but she was also scared of telling any pony about this before we got her up there. Rainbow Dash struck her face with her hoof and dragged it down. Wait, you mean to tell Trixie no pony asked her? And come to think of it, wasn't it really obvious she did not want to be there? Trixie found it hard to believe they had literally dragged Fluttershy up the mountain without noticing. Well, it ain't like we didn't notice, Trixie, but Fluttershy was our best chance for dealing with the dragon without ending up like one of the 12 saggers. Sure, she was a mite scared in getting there, but all of us were there to help her through it. Rainbow Dash brushed it off. Yeah, just let me get to the good part. The thought of it seemed to have reignited her excitement and her impatience as she had trouble to sit still, even more than before anyway. Applejack paused briefly to glare up at Rainbow Dash, then looked back to Trixie. Almost all of us, she muttered. Trixie blinked in confusion and stared up at Rainbow Dash. Just what is all this? Alright, so since Fluttershy was too scared, each of us took turns going into the dragon's cave. Twilight Dried Persuasion, Rarity Charm, Pinkie Pie. Well, she was Pinkie Pie. Trixie tilted her head. This was the second time she had heard something about the pink one that felt a bit off. Trixie assumes none of those worked. Then what happened? If she was not looking right at the ponies, she would have been sure they all got eaten as they went into the cave. Rainbow Dash grinned. I kicked its jaw. Trixie must be worse than she thought. She hallucinated for a moment that you said you kicked an actual dragon in the face and lived to tell about it. Totally did that. And it worked too. He came right out of that cave. Rainbow Dash pumped her hoof. You are trying to tell Trixie that you chased out a huge dragon with physical force? You chased the dragon off the mountain? There is nothing that you could say that Trixie would find harder to believe than that. Trixie stared at Rainbow Dash incredulously. Oh, don't you worry, Trixie, that dragon was in no hurry to go anywhere. White roared at Rainbow so hard she fled straight out of that cave without even stopping to look where she went. Crashed right into all of us, except Fluttershy who had been hiding already. Good idea in hindsight. Hey. I did not flee. He just blew me away with his breath, which was horrible by the way. It smelled like some of that stuff Rarity keeps in jars to put on her hooves. Just, ew. Rainbow Dash shivered, apparently somehow more disturbed by the idea of the jars than she was by the actual dragon. Trixie noticed Fluttershy had retreated behind her mane, as though she expected something scary to happen in the next few moments. Is she scared of them fighting? Trixie will put a stop to that. Then she cleared her throat. Whatever, just tell the great and powerful Trixie what happened next. Now. Rainbow Dash looked up from impeding argument with Applejack. What? Oh right, yeah. So there we were, bravely fighting this massive adult dragon, and totally not running around like chickens. When he unleashed his most deadly weapon, his breath. Trixie gasped. He tried to burn all of you? How did you survive? She noticed Fluttershy had not improved either, and assumed this must have been the part she dreaded then. So that didn't help at all. No, weren't you listening? He just breathes out horrible smelling smoke. It's just that he does it like a hurricane. He hit all of us and smacked us right into the rocks. We were totally out of the fight, or they were. I was almost back on my hooves when suddenly. Trixie's eyes widened. Have you taken complete leave of your senses? Was ever heard of a dragon that can only breath smoke? Where did you think that smoke was coming from? On second thought, don't answer that. If anything, he was still groggy and warming up his fire breath, since you did say he was sleeping when you got there. If he had been just a little more awake, you'd all be pony barbecue. Trixie could not believe what complete fools they had been. The thought that they were all just a little breath away from death was insane. Rainbow Dash actually dropped out of her cocky attitude for a moment, and looked concerned. Hey Trixie, relax, it's okay. We got lucky, I get it. Don't get so worked up or... Trixie blinked as she noticed the sudden change in Rainbow Dash, and found the same kind look in the eyes of Fluttershy and Applejack. It was only when her attention was not solely on the story that she realized what made them so upset. Trixie found she was hyperventilating badly and there was a tight feeling in her chest. Her hooves were shaking. Yeah, yes of course. Trixie is not sure what happened. It's only a story. For just a moment, she pictured 3 empty spots in the grass where the trio were seated, then quickly shook her head. I reckon it is getting mighty late. What say we put off this story till another day? Applejack offered. Wait, no. Trixie does not want to ruin it for everyone. Please continue, Trixie will be cool. She stared at Rainbow Dash and gave a small smirk. Rainbow Dash gave a groan. Oh come on, I should refuse to tell you just for that you know. She turned her attention towards Fluttershy. I don't know. Fluttershy, do you think this is a good idea? Oh, me. Yes. It's probably less stressful to know the whole story. That's just what I think so. Well, you are the expert, and it is pretty much your story, so that's 2 for 2 right there. With a grin, Rainbow Dash settled back into her story. So though we were smashed against the rocks, I was about to get up and get serious, of course. But then out of nowhere, Fluttershy appears. Trixie raised her brows. Rainbow Dash, you already told Trixie that Fluttershy was there, repeatedly. No, that is not what I mean. Get this. Fluttershy flies right up to the dragon and lands on his muzzle, and yells at him. I don't remember it too well since my ears were ringing, but I know she made the dragon cry. She saved all of us. Trixie blinked slowly as she listened to the story of Fluttershy's heroism, then burst out laughing uncontrollably. Ha, ha, ha. Oh okay, you exclamation mark, ha, ha, good one. Like Flutter. Piff ha ha. Unable to keep herself up, Trixie fell down and pounded the ground with her hoof until the worst had passed. Trixie had tears her eyes from laughing so much as she looked up, wiping her left eye dry. Okay, come on, seriously now. What really happened? It dawned on Trixie that something strange was going on. And why is no pony else laughing? As she looked around, Trixie discovered Fluttershy had retreated completely behind her mane, Rainbow Dash wore a cheesy smile, and Applejack was looking away while she tried to clear what sounded like a nasty cough. What? It's True. Trixie whirled around and found a furiously blushing Fluttershy peeking out with one eye from behind her mane. Wait so. Words failed Trixie as her jaw hit the floor. Trixie was wrong, that is even harder to believe. It's true, and it was awesome. Who knew she had it in her? Rainbow Dash was next to Fluttershy. She must have gotten there within the time it took Trixie to blink. Both Rainbow Dash's hooves around Fluttershy's neck and chest as she held her tightly. The most amazing thing I have ever seen. This week. Fluttershy wordlessly returned the hug. Trixie looked back towards Applejack, who was simply nodding. I couldn't believe my eyes and ears, but it really did happen. Though I reckon we ain't gonna see her do it again. She was back to normal pretty quick, as you might ha' noticed. You did get a taste of it back with Rainbow and Red Heart, but I'll say ponies don't count. Rainbow's ears perked up and she let go for Fluttershy to turn back to the Applejack and Trixie. Whoa now, it totally does for Fluttershy. In fact, I am even prouder of her for that. Stand up to a dragon is one thing, but stand up to the Rainbow Dash? You did great, Fluttershy. She smiled brightly at her. Fluttershy smiled back and nodded. Thanks, Rainbow Dash. The scene before her somehow made Trixie feel nauseous. A terrible feeling settled in her stomach, though she was sure she was not actually sick. A question was burned on her mind. Didn't Fluttershy betray you? Why are you happy? This isn't right, is it? Still, Trixie had already ruined the mood several times that evening, and though she was forgiven so far, she did not want to risk doing so again. So what happened after Fluttershy made a dragon cry? The very words felt as though they were never meant to be uttered in the same sentence as they crumbled off Trixie's tongue. Well, I guess I'll fill you in. Fluttershy comforted him, then explained he was a bother and told him to sleep somewhere else, so he did. Well, that does sound more like something she would do. Crazy mares, all of them. Applejack yawned and stretched out her legs. Well, I reckon it's about time I hit the hay. Had a good time with y'all, we ought to do it again sometime. Trixie approves of this idea. Perhaps bring some of the best pie too? Well, I suppose. Wait, pie? Trixie can't have solid food yet. I mean, sorry. Trixie's groaned. That's not fair. Trixie already had some and nothing bad happened. No pie, Trixie, but Applejack can bring some for the rest of us. I'm sure Fluttershy can make some nice apple soup or something for you. Rainbow Dash grinned widely. Well, I reckon that's fair, I will bring some next time. Applejack adjusted her hat, then paused a moment as she looked at Trixie, seeming to realize something was missing about her. After a moment, however, she continued her way toward the path. Passing Trixie, she whispered, "Don't you worry, I can slip you a piece if they still try to stop you." Trixie's ears perked up excited by the news and she quickly nodded. "Oh yeah, Rainbow, if you're going home too, mind walking together for a spell?" "Yeah sure, Applejack. I need to get going anyway. Will you two be alright?" Rainbow Dash took flight, but stayed near the ground. Fluttershy nodded. "We're fine, we'll just go straight to bed." Have a good night, girls. Good night, y'all. Come on, Rainbow. Right. Though Trixie would have liked the night to go on, in truth she could feel her body scream out for sleep already. Of course it tended to do that a lot lately. Goodbye, Applejack, Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash swooped back around and flew backwards while she looked at Trixie. See you later, Trixie. Friends never say goodbye. Really? Trixie rolled her eyes. See you later then. Chapter 50. Revelation. At long last, one of Trixie's most pressing questions was about to be answered. After returning inside with Fluttershy, she had stuck close to her in the dark, and finally prepared to ask the question that had been on her mind for so long. "Fluttershy?" Fluttershy paused and looked at Trixie. The faint light of the dwindling candle in the windowsill illuminated her smile. "Yes, Trixie." Trixie has something she wants to ask. "Oh, sure, I'll try to answer any questions you have. What is it?" Trixie shifted uncomfortably. It was difficult to ask, but she finally brought herself to it. "How do you turn the lights on? We tried for an hour, but we couldn't figure it out." Blinking, Fluttershy stared at Trixie, then looked around as if only now becoming aware that her house was dark as night. "Oh. It's simple, you just have to ask nicely." Trixie blushed embarrassed. "Ugh, of course it was simple, now I look like a fool." "I'm sorry. Please tell Trixie how to turn the lights on." Fluttershy giggled and shook her head. "Not like that. I could show you, but I don't think it's nice to bother them if we don't need them. I'm sorry." Fluttershy looked apologetic, but then cheered up. "Oh, I have an idea. Are you hungry?" It was not clear to Trixie how any of this was supposed to make sense. Oh well, a little maybe. Why? She stared at Fluttershy in the vain hope she might be able to deduce what was going on. I did it wrong? They? Is she teasing? I do have some apple broccoli soup left. I meant to eat it with Rainbow Dash, but we forgot. She looked down, and gently kicked at the ground, scraping a hoof along the floorboards. She quickly snapped out of it. Oh. Only because we got so wrapped up in everything. I mean, it's not any pony's fault. Just so much happened and well. If you like we can have it. Alright. Trixie is not sure how this relates to Trixie's question though. But she'd be happy to have some more of that soup of yours, Fluttershy. Though the reason still eluded her, any excuse to have some more of the talented mare's cooking was a good one. Fluttershy smiled. Great, hold on, I'll see if we can get some light. To Trixie's surprise, Fluttershy walked back outside. Wait, where are you going? Trixie called out confused, and quickly followed after her. She found Fluttershy standing around outside, speaking to herself. Excuse me, do you think you could come inside for a little while? I would really appreciate it if you would be so kind. Fluttershy looked up at, as far as Trixie could tell, just the sky. Oh, thank you for understanding. Trixie worried about Fluttershy's unusual behavior. Fluttershy? Are you feeling okay? Why are you? Her voice trailed off as she finally caught on. What Trixie had initially dismissed as stars in the sky had turned out to be living creatures, and a small, but steady, stream of the flying little flickering lights made its way into the cottage. Their spread-out small lights were not enough to illuminate the meadow, but their glow combined lit up the small hovel. "The fireflies?" Trixie stammered. "Oh, you know them? Aren't they just the most beautiful sight? I usually have some inside in the rafters, but I was not sure when we would be back, so I asked them to go outside before I closed up. It would be just terrible if the poor dears got trapped inside and grew hungry." Trixie nodded. Yes, Trixie often sees them at night when Trixie has made camp, but never like this. She trotted back into the cottage, a gentle light from the glowing insects ensured it was easy to see everything. This is amazing. Aren't they? I'm really lucky they are willing to help. Fluttershy made her way into the kitchen to retrieve her metal kettle and set it near the fireplace. With a practiced ease, she lit the fire and hung the kettle on a hook over the fire. She made her way to the window, and blew out the candle. "You can rest on the couch while this warms up, Trixie, if you want to, that is." The great and powerful Trixie does not. Actually, that sounds pretty good. Trixie climbed on the couch and laid down with a happy sigh. The soft pillows made it hard to fight or urge to go right to sleep. Fluttershy? Trixie has another question. Fluttershy looked into the kettle for a moment before she made her way towards Trixie, and took a seat beside her. Sure, what is it? Trixie had not actually thought about how to phrase the question, but she figured she thought a bit better under pressure. She didn't. Well, about the dragon story. Why do you let Rainbow Dash talk to you like that? Fluttershy blinked and leaned away a little. Talk to me like what? I don't know what you mean, Trixie. Don't pretend. Trixie knows many things. Especially when soft mares start tensing up whenever they are called slow. What is wrong? Trixie said in a demanding tone. It only took her half a second to regret her tone of voice as she saw Fluttershy shrink back further. No, wait, sorry. Look, Fluttershy, it's okay to be scared. But Trixie wants to know what is bothering you, because you are very important to Trixie, and she does not want to see you hurt. Fluttershy said nothing and retreated behind her mane. Curses, was that too out the blue? Trixie waited for a few moments, but when no response came from Fluttershy she carried on. Trixie has some idea of what is wrong. Why don't you try to help fill her in? Is that okay, Fluttershy? She received a slow nod. You were slowing every pony down, and your friends were mean to you for it. Even though they were the ones that made you gum? Fluttershy quickly shook her head. No, well. Yes. But most of my friends did not say anything about it. Applejack helped me a lot. But. Nodding, Trixie tried to help her along. But Rainbow Dash was the one that hated you for it. She did sound very impatient even when telling the story. So she did not hate me, but I disappointed her, I could tell. It's not her fault. I know I should have said something. The whole trip I knew I was slowing her down when she was in such a hurry. And I don't like disappointing her. Fluttershy whimpered. Trixie could hear her sniffling behind her mane. Trixie looked shocked. She had not been sure if Fluttershy would really open up. She quickly scooted closer and pulled Fluttershy into a hug, lending her a shoulder if she needed it, but stayed quiet herself. With her muzzle so near Fluttershy's mane, Trixie smelled the scent of raspberry, but also a faint hint of dragon's breath that made her nose wrinkle. It occurred to her she always picked the worst moments for this. Focused Trixie. Shaking in Trixie's grasp, Fluttershy's fur legs moved around Trixie. She's really good to me, and I'll love her, but I am not as good as she is. She's fast and brave while I'm slow and cowardly. But that's okay because I know she will be there for me no matter what. But I'm supposed to be a bear of the elements now. I can't slow her down anymore. I wanted to show her I could be brave for her. It's okay, Trixie cooed while she let one hoof stroke Fluttershy's mane and back. Ever since her plan to head into the forest and spend the day alone with Fluttershy, she had hoped she would learn to share with her, to get to know her more. An embrace had been just what Trixie would have hoped for when they were alone, but not like this. She just had an overwhelming desire to make everything alright for her, to protect her, but she was not sure how. So this is what it feels like, huh, Rainbow Dash? As Fluttershy continued, Trixie could feel her fur growing wet. It was awful. All I wanted was to get off that mountain as fast as possible, but every time something else was making me do even worse. I wanted to be better for her, but all I did was prove what a coward I am. I let her down. Trixie frowned while she listened, holding Fluttershy tighter. Fluttershy, you are such a fool, she whispered. You are scared that Rainbow Dash is disappointed and thinks you are a coward? Trixie does not think that is true. Fluttershy is brave. She does her best every day to be kind to every pony, even if she's scared. Trixie is convinced this is the truth. Sniffling, Fluttershy asked, "Thank you, but what makes you think that?" Because that is what Rainbow Dash told Trixie, back when Trixie scared you. Trixie bit her lip. She did not like to think about that, any of it. Well, except maybe the end of that. A soft smile played on her lips. So she said that? Fluttershy sounded less tearful, though Trixie had no way to check. She was sure Fluttershy had stopped crying, however. Trixie nodded. She most definitely did. Trixie has the entire thing burned in her memory, and Trixie's memory is already perfect by default, so you know she is right. She gently pushed away from Fluttershy so she could look at her. Trixie knows Rainbow Dash trusts you. The two of you are the closest friends Trixie has ever seen. It was the honest truth, but Trixie still decided it would be best to leave out that they were also the only friends she had ever paid attention to. Fluttershy looked to be doing better. Trixie had never been so glad to be right. But then why was she so mean today? Are you really sure? Smiling reassuringly, Trixie gave another nod. Trixie is sure. Don't worry, Fluttershy. Just talk to Rainbow Dash. Fluttershy looked down after the suggestion. Oh, Trixie will talk to Rainbow Dash. You'll see. You saw how proud she was of you, didn't you? Or felt it, Trixie thinks might be more accurate. Fluttershy blushed and nodded slowly. That is true. It was nice, She does not usually like to get mushy like that. That was mushy? Trixie looked surprised. All Rainbow Dash did was give her a quick hug. Maybe that's not normal for friends after all? Well, for Rainbow Dash, yes. She is not big on touching. Is Fluttershy messing with Trixie? Though it is true Trixie has not seen them together now that Trixie thinks about it. But Rainbow Dash was wrestling Applejack just a minute ago. I'm sure Rainbow Dash stayed away from Trixie at the start, but that was when Trixie was scared of her. After that she seemed okay with Trixie being close. Well. Except for the time Trixie got a bit too close. Trixie tried to fight back the mixed feelings that came with remembering the painful and embarrassing moment, but she could feel her cheeks starting to burn. She could practically feel the touch of Rainbow Dash's lips against her own again, stroking a hoof along her muzzle. I wonder how it would be with Flu. Trixie? Are you okay? You look a bit, feverish. Fluttershy leaned closer and reached up a hoof for Trixie's forehead. Startled out of her fantasy, Trixie quickly leaned back from the hoof. Trixie is fine. Is it burning? Trixie thinks she smells burning. Quick, go check. She waved a frantic hoof towards the fireplace. Fluttershy's eyes widened, then she made a mad dash for the kettle, only to find it was just barely starting to get warm. She breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness. I guess it was just the firewood. The soup is fine. Yes, soup. Good. Trixie ensured she remained facing away from Fluttershy. She could hear Fluttershy's hoof steps trail into the kitchen, then return shortly afterwards. A brief glance revealed she balanced 2 empty bowls between her wings, and carried a ladle in her mouth. Could you sound any less natural? Come on, Trixie. Once the thought had entered her mind, however, it proved substantially more difficult to shake it. Trixie watched Fluttershy fill the bowls with the ladle, but found her attention shift to the lips holding the handle before she quickly looked away again. Tea, that's not good, is it? I'm supposed to be their friend. It's like Rainbow Dash said. If I feel the same about them, then it must be friendship. But I wasn't sure then either. If only there was something I could do to confirm. Trixie, are you coming? Fluttershy called out to her from the dining table. She had already moved the soup bowls though while Trixie was busy distracting herself. If you like you can have it on the couch, but I am not sure that it is safe. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. Trixie is coming. With a wobble, Trixie climbed off the couch and then made her way to the table, taking her usual seat. She gave a smile to Fluttershy before all of her attention was set on the soup, sparing the occasional glance up at Fluttershy as they ate, or drank. The silence was finally broken as Trixie spoke up. Say, Fluttershy? Is it always like that? Fluttershy looked up from her bowl, swallowing her mouthful. The soup? Trixie shook her head. Trixie is not sure what to call it. The whole evening, after the nurses left, it was very lively. With Rainbow Dash and Applejack trying to tell, or sabotage, their story about what you girls had been doing. Sharing all of those things, the drinks, laughs, arguments, physical things. All of it. Oh. Well, not the exact things, but it tends to be, yes. When we get together as friends, that is, it can be a bit, livelier if the others are there too. Tonight was only the 4 of us, though I think I liked it a little better this way. Fluttershy gasped. Not that I don't like it when it's all of us, or less of us, or other friends than who were here tonight. They are all great and good fun, it's just more peaceful. Or less difficult to keep track. I mean Trixie giggled and waved one hoof around the room. It's okay, Fluttershy, no pony is here to be offended when you say you don't like having them around. She gave a playful wink. That is not. Oh, you are awful. Fluttershy brought up a hoof to her muzzle as if to cover her mouth in shock, but Trixie could hear the giggles behind it. "But what Trixie is trying to say really, Fluttershy?" Trixie began, then paused for a moment as she tried to collect her thoughts on the whole thing. Even though Trixie kind of ruined it a few times, it picked back up quickly, and well, Trixie had a really good time. It's not often Trixie is not in the spotlight, but it was okay somehow. For a little while anyway. Trixie makes no promises for when she is better. She crossed her hooves across her chest. Fluttershy dipped down for another quick sip of soup. "That's great, Trixie. I was not sure if it was a good idea to have you out there. You even fell asleep at the start, so you must have been so tired. But if you say that you enjoyed yourself, I'm happy we went through with it. I'm sure Rainbow Dash will like to hear it too. Oh, and don't worry. You did not ruin anything, we all understand you are a bit weak right now." "Trixie is not weak," Trixie grumbled. "She is merely less powerful than usual, but equally as great." "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "I know you are. Back in the forest when the Timberwolves found us, you were really impressive. Even though you were hurt. And got hurt even worse because of it. I'm sorry." Fluttershy half hid behind her mane while she brought one eye up from the table, and settled on Trixie's. "I still have not thanked you for that. I'm sorry. Thank you for protecting me." While she looked back at Fluttershy, Trixie felt warm, but also something familiar yet strange, as though there had been something sparkling in the soup. Well. One could hardly expect a unicorn as great and powerful as Trixie to do anything less. Besides, you were very brave, Fluttershy. You saved Trixie multiple times, and you stayed by her side even when you could have flown to safety and left Trixie to her fate. No pony would have blamed you if you had. You have my eternal gratitude. It was nothing. If it was not for Rainbow Dash, things would have been terrible." Fluttershy blushed, but then shivered as she mentioned the alternative possibility. Trixie perked up. "That might be true, but she was there for us. So if you promise not to worry about that, Trixie will promise not to worry about the dragon. Deal?" She smiled as Fluttershy nodded in return. "Excellent. Oh, that reminds Trixie. When we were in the castle, you said Rainbow Dash has never had any interest in a special sun pony." Fluttershy blinked puzzled, but nodded. "As far as I know, and I think she would have told me about it. She just is not the type, I think. She's far too busy training to be part of the Wonderbolts to even think about that kind of thing, I think." "Yes, like you said, she had plenty of ponies after her." Trixie nodded a bit. "Trixie is curious though, Fluttershy. You never said anything about yourself, so Trixie was just wondering. Is it the same for you?" Blushing, Fluttershy went even more quiet than usual. "Is what the same? Are you not interested in a special sun pony, like Rainbow Dash?" By what Trixie had heard, she figured it might be that both ponies ended up together by sharing a disinterest in pursuing a romance. To Trixie's surprise, however, Fluttershy had turned red and retreated even further behind her mane. She could barely see her eye anymore. Rainbow Dash, as a special sun pony?" Trixie blinked puzzled, and tilted her head quizzically. "What are you?" "Oh. No, Fluttershy. Trixie means if you are like her, the same. You know." Oh, I see. Sorry, I just was really surprised that's all." She shook her head, looking back down at her soup. Well, you know, I'm not good around other ponies. So I didn't ever have one for Hearts and Hooves Day. Usually we just hang out, as Rainbow Dash calls it, and she shows me some new stunts." By the look on Fluttershy's face, Trixie could guess not all of those stunts had ended well. "Trixie did not mean to make you uncomfortable, sorry. It was not a good thing to ask." She followed Fluttershy's example by returning her attention to the soup. Trixie's mind wandered while she swallowed the warm liquid. That was interesting. Trixie would almost think they're hiding something from her, but are they? Something does not add up. Don't be silly, Trixie. What purpose would it serve to hide something like that from you? They are just friends, just like Trixie is their friend. The thought looped Trixie back around to her original quandary. Is it just friendship? Ugh, this would be much easier with something for contrast. She shook her head to clear it from the useless thoughts. It felt heavy. Trixie is tired. Though she has been tired all day, in hindsight that is not worth mentioning. Fluttershy looked up from her meal startled. Huh? No, it's good to say how you feel. We'll finish up here then get you back to bed. It has been a very exhausting day for every pony. Trixie agrees. Trixie nodded while she tended to her soup, idly playing with a floating piece of broccoli that bumped into a bit of sliced apple when suddenly, she had an epiphany. Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash were not her only friends anymore. That's right. The apples. Big Mac and Applejack. They are Trixie's friends too. So then that means... Trixie is so dead.